Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you would know that I absolutely love Linux, and specifically, I love Linux Mint. This is actually the version that I use. Now, if you are brand new to the Linux world, you probably don't know what I mean when I say this is my favorite version, or the more technical term in the Linux world, it's called distributions. So unlike Windows or Apple's Mac OS, you really don't have one version of the operating system. Now, obviously, with Windows, you get the Pro version as well, and similarly for the Mac. However, the look and feel is pretty much the same. The functionality, they do have additional functionality from one version to another. But whenever you do get into the Linux world, you're going to find that things are a lot different and a lot more variety available. So if you go to this website called Distro Watch, now if you are new to Linux, you probably never heard of this. But if you are a Linux user, everybody knows about this website. So basically this website lists all the current best Linux distributions that are being downloaded. And when I say best, let's just say the most popular, okay? Because best depends on what you like. And one thing that I absolutely love about the whole Linux world is that there's so many different versions of Linux that really serve your needs, okay? Instead of the other way around where you are from the Windows or Mac world, you are pretty much limited to whatever they give you, okay? Whereas in the Linux world, you're only limited by what you want to learn and what you want to use, okay? And as I'm showing you here, all of this are Linux operating systems, okay? Now underneath it, they are very similar, but they are not exactly the same, okay? So that's one thing that you'll learn in the Linux world, that it is a very community driven project. It's the largest open source project in the world, and it all comes down to choice and what I like to term freedom. Okay, you have freedom of choice on how you want to use your operating system, on the way you want it displayed to you. There's so many great things. And so with all of that being said, why do I use Linux Mint? Okay, this is basically the only version of Linux that I use day to day on a regular basis. So I'm not the type of person who actually distro hops, and what that means is you jump from one Linux distribution to another. A lot of people do this. I used to do this a lot, okay? However, after a certain point, I just basically just wanted to use my computer. The main reason why I went to Linux in the first place is because I just didn't like Windows anymore. I wanted to get away from that, and I didn't want to go buy an Apple Mac, so I really just wanted more freedom, and I wanted more choice. And then whenever Ubuntu came out, it pretty much changed the game, okay? So most Linux distributions are based upon Ubuntu, and Linux Mint is based upon Ubuntu as well. Now, why I love this distro is the fact that it is basically what I've always wanted Windows to be, okay? I want it first to be stable, okay? And Linux Mint, for me, it is the most stable operating system I've ever used. It's very, very rare that I would have a system freeze or a system crash, and if it does happen, maybe it's only once a month, and usually it's because I'm trying something or I have a whole bunch of things that I'm testing. Normally when I'm testing something, that's when it happens. Now at the same time, it is very secure, okay? And I could say that for a lot of Linux distributions. Now there's always going to be that whole battle of Linux security versus Windows versus Apple. But as an everyday user, day to day, I don't think about those things. So I don't have any virus and stuff on here. And most people who use Linux desktops don't. Okay, so that's another thing. And then the whole freedom aspect of it all. I don't have to pay for a license, and I would gladly pay for Linux Mint if they sold it. I would gladly pay for it. But I don't have to pay for a license. I could put it on any machine that I want. I could customize it however I want, from the way it looks all the way to the way it performs underneath, and Linux Mint allows me to do all of that, okay? Now, all these other versions of Linux, they do allow a lot of the same things as well. Pretty much every Linux distribution. But why I really love Linux Mint is because it just basically lets me use my operating system and not have to worry about technical issues. I rarely ever have to do any type of tech support on my own operating system. And also support, since it is based upon Ubuntu. You have a huge community of users, and so if there is a problem or you have questions, you have a community to go to. However, I don't like Ubuntu as much as I did before. Okay, so I get all the benefits of Ubuntu without using Ubuntu. Okay, so that's another reason why I really love Linux Mint. And probably the other final reason that I'm a huge user of Linux Mint is because I actually like the Linux Mint community. And each one of these versions of the Linux distribution, they do have their own communities. Okay, even though we're all part of the much larger Linux community, each of them has their own community, and I've gotten so much help from this community. Everybody is really supportive, and the people who actually run this site and run Linux Mint as a whole, they really want this to be the best operating system, not only for Linux but just as a whole. And also they really care about their users, and I really appreciate that. So Clem, as he's called, he is the project lead, and he's really active on the blog itself. Okay, and we do have these two other people as well, and this isn't like a big multi-billion-dollar corporation. Okay, these are just some people who really love Linux, and they really love the community that they serve. And I have gladly donated to them, and if you do want to do that, please donate to them as well. And so in a nutshell, all those reasons that I gave, and there's probably many other little things that I love a lot about Linux Mint, but bottom line, Linux Mint is the version of Linux that allowed me to really enjoy just using my computer. Okay, this is what I wanted in Windows, and then even for all the other Linux distributions, everybody has their preferences, but for me, this is the best. I mean, I recommend this to everybody. All my tutorials are done using Linux Mint. I have Linux Mint on every single computer that I have, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But you can always come to DistroWatch. If you're new to Linux, come over here, check out all the different distributions available. But more than likely, you're almost always going to see Linux Mint at the top or near the top. Okay, and it's for a good reason. So that's it for this episode. I just wanted to share my feelings on why I love Linux Mint, why I use it so much. And for all the people who are Linux users out there, if you had one that you really love, leave that in the comments area below. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of the same ones, but the community is large, and like I said, everybody has their own preferences. So if you did get value out of these videos, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors. That's also in the description area below as well. Thanks for watching. See you in another episode. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.